America is a racist country. This is a belief that has been embraced by many on the left. They claim that the USA systemically oppresses people who are not white. But not everyone agrees. On July 14th of 2020, Dennis Prager of PragerU published what he believed to be 5 very powerful arguments against the charge that America is a racist society. Unfortunately, none of his arguments hold any water, and many are directly racist. What did Dennis Prager say? And why is he wrong? Let's find out. Argument 1. If there is so much racism in America, why are there so many false claims of racism and outright race hoaxes? Dennis Prager brings up a list of 15 instances of what he calls false racism. These are mostly times when people believed they saw a noose, and it was later decided that there was no racially inspired aspect of the incident. This is a statistical misrepresentation of this issue, no matter how you look at it. Firstly, he was only able to scrape up 15 examples of this issue over the past 14 years. It is trivial to provide examples of actual racism. Here are 15 from 2020 alone, but that is beside the point. Prager's reliance on anecdotal data is not sufficient to prove that there is actually a problem of widespread hoaxes. He acts as though he has proven that if we were to graph the issues, it would look like this. In reality, he does not have data to show how prevalent these racism hoaxes really are. He would need to do significantly more work to demonstrate that fraudulent racism claims are anywhere near as prevalent as actual racism is. Argument 2. The constant references to slavery. Here, Dennis Prager discredits any argument that looks to the past as irrelevant. He says people would only refer to the past if there was not a great deal of racism in America today. This argument makes absolutely no sense. Ignoring the continued harm from past racist acts is foolish at best and yes, racist at worst. For a modern-day example of racism, many would point to the issue of systemic racism in the police. But Prager already dismissed that issue with his next point. Argument 3. The reliance on lies. Prager says the charge of endemic racist police brutality is a lie. The evidence he uses to back up this claim is found earlier in the article, where he states that only 15 unarmed black citizens are killed each year, and that more unarmed white people are killed by police than unarmed black people are. Unfortunately for him, these claims are easy to check, using data from the Washington Post's Police Fatal Shootings database. Since 2015, there have been 124 unarmed black individuals who have been shot and killed by police. That is a rate of over 25 a year, far more than Prager's false reference point. And while it is true that more unarmed white individuals have been shot, this does not represent reality. Of all fatal police shootings of black people, 9.5% of the victims were unarmed, far more than that of white victims. The difference is even more pronounced when considering the full populations of each race. A 2017 study concluded that black civilians who died by police gunfire were more than twice as likely as whites to have been unarmed. The research journal Nature has a great article looking at the data of systemic racism in policing, if you want to see more evidence. Now, you may not agree that the police are racist, but there is a real and logical way to make that argument. Dennis Prager attempts to discredit the people he disagrees with by baselessly calling them liars, using bad data to back it up. Argument 4. The large African immigration to the United States. Here, Prager argues that the immigration of people from African countries to the United States proves that America is not a racist country. He asks, why would so many blacks voluntarily move to a country that is systemically racist? Are all of these blacks dumb? Are they ignorant? To answer these questions, perhaps he could have simply asked a black immigrant. It makes one wonder why Dennis Prager did not think of this simple and obvious solution to his questions. You may ask, is Dennis Prager dumb? No, maybe he does not know any black immigrants. Is he ignorant? In truth, these rhetorical questions get us no further than his own did, but I do genuinely ask this. Why would anyone think it is acceptable to brush aside the lies of black immigrants to support a lazy argument? In the description, I put a set of links to stories told by black immigrants, even more than I could fit on this screen. They talk about their reasons for deciding to come to the United States, along with their triumphs and their challenges. I really encourage you to read them, and to seek out more on your own. Here's a sample from the piece in The Atlantic. I came to the US as an African immigrant when I was 18. I was familiar with racism, coming from a former British colony where structures laid in place during colonialism still propagate themselves. But I never felt racism as viscerally as I did when a cop pointed a gun at me 3 months after arriving in the US. Immigrants like this must grapple with the challenges of racism daily. It is disgusting that Dennis Prager would ignore these struggles, claiming their experiences to pretend they face no adversity. Argument 5. The preoccupation with microaggressions. Finally, Prager says that the left only bring up microaggressions because there are so few macroaggressions to support the claim that America is a racist country. This runs the same fallacies as his first point. The presence of racist microaggressions do not preclude the presence of larger systemic racism. This would also be a good time to point out that Dennis and I are operating on different definitions of the word racism. As far as he is concerned, racism is solely defined by looking down on someone based on the color of their skin. With that as a definition, then yes, America is not a racist country. But that is not where the impact and definition of racism end. Racism is also the fact that it is easier for a white person to secure a job. That a white person is, on average, paid more for equivalent labor. Racism is a foundation rooted in society that is predetermined who can succeed and who can be kicked aside to let that happen. Racism is the blind belief that everyone is on a level playing field, refusing to acknowledge that the slavery of old, the policies of yesterday, and even the microaggressions of today have left some at a hopeless disadvantage. Claiming that racism is no longer an issue is actively propping up this status quo. America is a racist country, and it fundamentally will be so long as we fail to acknowledge this fact. I'm not PragerU. Thanks for watching.